Hi, I'm Clint Washburn with Gold Claw, and I want to show you today what's inside of our production pan bundle. We're getting a lot of questions about how to use the production pan, so this video is to show you that. We're going to do an extended how-to so you can learn a few more tricks than I've shown with your production pan. But I also want to show you everything that's in this bundle. This bundle comes with 3 gold pans and a first gold kit. The first gold kit is a big deal, because especially for people who have never panned before, because there's nothing like getting your first speck of gold pulled for yourself right out of the dirt. And so it comes with a snuffer bottle that helps you suction your gold out of your pan, and then you can squeeze it into this vial. And the size of this vial is important too. We chose the size that shows you what 1 ounce of gold looks like. If you fill that with gold, you have 1 ounce, so it's for reference. But also we include pay dirt, actual pay dirt. It's a small 1 ounce vial of pay dirt that the day you open your package, you can pan and see what it's like to feel that magic feeling of pulling gold right out of the dirt. So that's a big deal. That's the first gold experience kit. Also is the pocket pan. When I first made this, I was thinking this was too small, almost like a toy, but I had so much pressure to build it that I went ahead and made it. And I'm glad I did, because it's become one of my favorites. And the reason why is because it's so small and compact that it can go with me anywhere. But it still has the same capturing ability of all these bigger pans. This thing is like a gold magnet. And so this one you put in your pocket, I put it in my laptop bag because I spend a lot of time flying out doing consulting. And it just goes anywhere with you. So you never have to be out looking at that outcrop, wondering, I wonder if there's gold in that outcrop of gravel. You have it with you. So that's why this has become one of my favorites, because it can go anywhere. And it works just as good as the bigger ones, but you always have it. So we'll try this out at the end. The original, this is the one that started it all off. And so it's a perfect balance of size. It's small enough that it can go with you anywhere, but it's big enough that you can pan through a massive amount of dirt in record time. This one we call the Prospector Pan. The pocket pan is where you find a place with gold. Then you bring this one in and you rapidly go around and find the concentrated area. And we'll show this one off a little bit today too. But the feature today is this new production pan. This is what you use once you find that concentrated area of gold. Because if you're trying to rack up a lot of gold, which I am sure a lot of us want to do that, you need to move a lot of dirt. And there is nothing out there that can move dirt as fast and easily as this production pan. We have sluices for that purpose. You can move a lot of dirt through a sluice. But what about carrying that sluice with you? You got this large device, you have to level it, you have to set it up, you have to screw it together, weight it down, and then you have to classify the material before you run it through it. Now, some people just run gravel through it, and you can do that. That large gravel will create gold loss because it's the moving water that actually removes the lighter materials and leaves the gold behind. And whenever there's moving water, that's suspension forces. And with suspension forces, it depends on the size of your rock in terms of its ability to move that material out of the way. And so you have to classify it in order to guarantee that you keep all your gold. Well, that classifying step takes time. How long would it take you to classify a 5-gallon bucket of material? For most people, that's anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes just to classify the material. And that's using a 1/4-inch screen. So there's that setup time, and then you run all your material through your sluice, and then you got to clean out. You're still not done. You got to clean out, and then you have to pack it all up and put it on your back and get it back down to your car. So there's a lot of work that goes into the sluice, which is what is the go-to device for moving a lot of material. This, we have made claims that can replace your sluice, and here's why. This does not require you to classify first. This side auto-classifies. So there is no classifying step. You put the gravel in, large and small, and then you pan it out. And I have my other video where I show you that I pan through 5 gallons of material in 40 seconds. So I pour the first half of the bucket in, pan through it, then I pour the last half of the bucket in, pan it out, and get to the gold in 40 seconds. It's amazing how fast you can go through material with this production pan. There's nothing to set up. This is all you have to carry. There's no clean out, because when you're done, you're down to the gold. And that's the goal of Gold Clot, is to go from gravel to the actual gold, not to the black sand that you have to take home later, to the gold. So let me show you how this works. So we don't have a whole lot of gravel here, but we'll fill it up the best we can. All right, that's not bad. So you can mound this up. If this is mounding with dirt, when you start shaking it, the gold falls through it. Now notice, we have all types of gravel in here. This is not classified. We have larger rocks, we have small gravel, and we have fine dirt, and down in there somewhere there's black sand and gold. So how you shake it determines what you're separating. And so the first thing we want to separate is the large rock from the small rock. And large shaking motions make big things float on top of small things. And so you want to start with big shaking motions. Plus, this pan is so big and full that the big shaking motions are much easier to manage than small shaking motions. Now, when we get through the big rocks and this pan starts to get empty, we're going to switch from wide shaking motions to smaller shaking motions, because the smaller you shake it, the faster and shorter you can shake it, the better the gold sinks through the black sand. So the first thing we're going to do is just some big shaking motions. Now notice, we're not going to lift this out of the water. Some friends up in Canada were trying to pan with this thing by lifting it out of the water. A conventional pan, you lift it out and you wash. If you try and do that with this pan, you're going to hate it. It's not designed for that. By leaving it underwater, it's buoyant. With my fingers, I can hold this thing. The water takes away, completely away, although if I lift it out, it's full of water and rock. I have to lift all of that. It's really heavy. By leaving it underwater, the weight of the water is gone, and the rocks themselves become buoyant. So now watch, I'm gonna start with a big kicker, big, heavy, big moves. So big and wide. And notice what happens to the big rocks. The big rocks go right to the top. So big wide moves. And now I'm going to let those fall out. Okay? So see, I've just about got rid of all my big rocks. But notice now my pan is much lighter. So now I'm going to switch from wide shaking to small shaking. Now, I also have taught you a lot about a reset. If you're worried about gold getting up in these cracks, all you have to do is every now and then reset. And a reset is you put the pan back underwater, and instead of tilting it away, tilt it towards you and shake. Just a few shakes, and that goes right back into the pan. So now, and with river rock like this, I really don't need to do any resets. But if I have a lot of black sand, then I would probably do more resets, like if I'm doing a clean out on a sluice. All right, let's go ahead and finish this off. So notice I switched to very short shaking, because now it's light enough to manage, and the short shaking is what keeps that gold down. Okay, so you can see how fast I got through that. Okay, that's pretty good right there. Now there's a big rock, you could throw it out, but I'm just gonna leave it in. Now I'm gonna put it all back in the pan. Now what I see people doing is they try and tap this back into the pan or wash it back into the pan, and it starts to squirt out the sides. But notice, when I used it properly, all the material is right in the middle, nowhere near these edges. But a lot of you have been worried about gold getting out the sides, so I went ahead and sealed them on this pan. But you don't need it. Okay, and it actually works better without them because it doesn't create these waves here, but they're so far from the gold it doesn't really matter, so I put them on anyway. Okay, now watch. I'm gonna put this back in the pan by just reversing the angle towards me, and a few shakes, and just like that, everything's back in my pan. So now I'm going to finish on this side. So again, I'm going to give it some big wide shakes to get some of the bigger rocks up, and I'll go ahead and pick this one out now. But some big wide shakes, and that helps everything move right to this low point. But then I'm going to use very small shaking motions to finish. Okay, now I could do resets on this side too, and I think I will actually. Okay, see, I can start to see gold here already. Now to do a reset, I just put it back underwater and shake it. Okay, and notice how I let the edge of the water help tease it down. I just kind of work it back down, and it helps kick everything off of here back into the pan. Look at that gold showing up already. So now to finish this off, you want very small shaking motions. And see how that gold wants to stay high. Now I could keep finishing this, but another good technique is, this is so much larger than the smaller pan that this is good enough to put in your vial, but you can pour this into your smaller pan and finish it easier and faster. But I'm just going to finish it here in this one. So now that I have my gold here, I'm going to kick it back here and just kick it across. This tapping motion pulls the gold away from the dirt. What's harder to do is to wash the dirt away from the gold, which is what most people do. And then I can do some washing motions to kick some of that back, and you can see all that gold I have in there. So very quickly you go from a pan that is full of gravel down to the gold. All right, so now I'm gonna dump this back in and just do the whole thing without stopping, so you can just see how this looks. Okay. All right, now I'm going to make one slight change to this one because it's actually a little bit easier, and a lot of you will like to do it this other way, but it's essentially all the same moves. So start with big shaking motions. You can see the big stuff come to the top, begin to tilt. Now I'm starting to shrink my shaking motions. And now I want very tiny, small shaking motions to keep it. Now to finish, I'm actually just going to finish on this side. Shake it towards me and just finish towards me. Less motion. There. And now, just kick that gold back. Look, this time we actually caught a big picker. You can see just how fast I went through all that material. There's a really nice picker we caught this time. All right, so that is using the production pan. Why do you want one of these? Because in less than a minute, now it's easy for me to do 5 gallons in 40 seconds. But maybe at first you're not quite that fast. But if you can do 5 gallons in 1 minute or 2 minutes even, that's amazing. You're getting through a lot of dirt. You're catching a lot more gold. All right, let's take a second and look at this pan. It's the same exact technology. Mound it up, start with big shakes. And I like to go kind of in circles at first with this one because it brings the big rocks up, and then switch to letting all those float out. And I'm going to shrink my shaking motions as I go, just like I did on the other one. Okay, Now I'm going to go all the way to vertical, and it's designed for that. Now I'm going to just flip it under the water back towards me and shake it, and see how fast all that fell right back in. What I see a lot of people trying to do, here, let me see if I can simulate it. A lot of people try and do is they try to tap it back in, and look at everything going out to the sides. It's a mess. I see people try to shake it in, and it goes out to the sides. Just tilt it towards you, and now give it a little shake and it falls right in. That's the trick to getting it back in. Now I'm going to switch from two hands to one hand on this one, because it's so small and light. And I'm just going to do really small shaking motions, because that lets the gold fall down and get underneath those black sands. But look how far down I can take the black sands with this one, because it has a little bit more fine of a riffle. Now when I tap, watch how that gold runs away from that black sand, and how clean and pure that is, ready to put in your snuffer bottle. That's ready to snuff out of there. Now what I'll do is I'll snuff this out. In fact, I might wash it back a little. Now I'll snuff this clean out, and I'll do it one more time and get those last little specks of gold. Okay. So the pocket pan works the exact same way as everything else. It's just so small that it literally fits in your pocket. I love this thing. And so I'll just scoop up some of this dirt, and it works exactly the same way. See how the big rocks come right to the top? Then I'm gonna shrink my shaking motions down a little bit. Go to vertical, flip it back towards me, shake it, everything's back in the pan. Switch to one hand, go to really small shaking motions. And you can already see that gold right there. And then I'm just gonna tap that gold out and across. So there it is, clean and ready to go in your vial. Now, I'm going to cover one more thing, because I get a lot of questions about, oh, I should have kept that. Get a lot, here, let me see if I can keep some of that gold real quick. There's a feature I put on the end, and I did this because I had a lot of people at the beginning of time ask for it. And what it is it's a way to pan the old-fashioned way. I don't like it. It's so much slower. So you see how fast I can tap this gold to there, and then tap it across, and it's clean. My technique is to remove the gold from the dirt. Okay? So now I can snuff that out. What people want to do, because that's the way they've been trained with a normal round pan, is they want to do a washing to finish. So you can see there's little ridges on the end here, but this is the old-fashioned way. I can wash now. Instead of taking the gold away from the dirt, I'm taking the dirt away from the gold. But look at the risk of losing gold right here. Because I probably already have lost some gold. Because it's so risky, you have to do cycle after cycle, and it just takes all day. So this is here if you want to try and wash the dirt away. But my advice is put it in on one edge here and work it across, or here and work it across even longer. Just tap the gold away from the dirt. It's so much faster than trying to pull the dirt. A little bit more water. It is so much faster than trying to pull the dirt away from the gold. See, now I just tapped it to the other side. The gold runs faster than the dirt, and that's clean and ready to go. So, bottom line, this new production bundle is awesome. It has all three pans. You need all three pans. You need the pocket pan to go anywhere. I fly with this thing. It goes in my glove box. I put it in my backpack. I always have it. Then the production pan, or the prospecting pan, the original, you can very quickly get around. It's light on your wrist. A lot of people, that's all you need is a pocket pan and the production pan. But when you're ready to rake in the gold, you gotta get one of these. This is how you do it. It's fast, It's big and anybody can do it. If it's just a little bit too big for you, then don't fill it all the way up. Fill it halfway full and you can use it as easy as anyone else. So enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you out there on the river.